Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of the Arrow After Show, coming off of Arrow Episode 5 for Season 3. So excited. My name is John Campy. I'm going to be your host for this evening. And before we do anything else, I'd like to introduce the ladies who are co-hosting with me. First of all, sitting on my left.
Hey, everybody, it's Ann Campia. I'm ready to hood up and talk about Episode 5.
You know, it's funny, you said hood up that 1 week.
Yeah.
And I have so many people tweeting to me now, when are we hooding up? It's like, it's caught on.
Right now, baby.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Let's
Okay, and sitting over here on my right.
Hey everyone, Cortez. So excited to be talking Arrow with you.
Yeah, and but before we get into it, I want to mention, just because I'm mentioning this on all my shows and whatever, is that even though it looks like I've only gone 6 hours without shaving, today is day 5 of me not shaving. I am participating in No Shave November in order to raise awareness and raise money for the American Cancer Society. So if you go to my either Facebook or Twitter, you'll find a link to my fundraising page. And if sometime this month, if you can go over there and make a $1 donation, a $5 donation, a $10 donation to the American Cancer Society, that'll be great. And every time you see my, unkept looking messy face, now you have a good cause for seeing my unkept, messy, no good looking face. And it'll remind you to go and donate to the American Cancer Society. So please join us for that. So before we get into tonight's episode of Arrow, I've been teasing on my Facebook and on my Twitter that we have a fairly big announcement to make tonight, and it is time for us to make that announcement. Now, you'll remember last season, for those of you who've been watching the Arrow After Show last season, I don't know if it was episode 6 or episode 7 or episode 8.
We were well into the season, I think.
I think it was a special, like an all-question
yeah,
special.
like during the mid-season break.
Mm-hmm.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so in season 2, we were doing the Arrow After Show, and we would do it live, and then all of a sudden in the chat board, somebody said, "Hey, John, Stephen Amell's trying to get hold of you." I'm like, whatever, you just ignore it. It's some crazy person on the internet. And then all of a sudden, about 12 people wrote, "John, check your Twitter. Stephen Amell's trying to get a hold of you." I'm like, what? So as we're doing the show live, so, Ann and Kaori are talking. I hop on Twitter, and sure enough, Stephen Amell had tweeted out, "Will somebody tell John Campy I'm trying to call him?" So on that episode, we got on Skype, and we brought in Stephen Amell over Skype, and Stephen Amell talked to us on Skype, and that was great. And we all thought, wouldn't it be great if we can get Arrow himself, Oliver Queen, Stephen Amell, in here in studio to talk about Arrow with us. And it's happening next Wednesday. That's Wednesday, November the 12th, on the Arrow After Show at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Stephen Amell will be joining us for a special, a little bit extra long episode of the Arrow After Show right here in studio to take your questions, to take our questions, to talk about the show, to talk about where it's going. So mark that in your calendar. Once again, this is next Wednesday, November the 12th, Stephen Amell in studio here, taking your thoughts and your questions. And by all means, guys, you can tweet us that night, but you can even start tweeting in. We're going to keep our eye on Twitter to see if any really good questions come in. Tweet to us with the hashtag Arrow After Show. So just tweet your question with the hashtag Arrow After Show, and we'll start collecting those. And we're stoked about it.
Yes. So excited.
Stephen's going to be in here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Good Canadian boy. I'm really always excited about that.
Better watch out. Your chair might be taken by Arrow
Maybe.
himself.
I might be standing in the corner or whatever. I don't know. Stuff like that. And you know what I'm really looking forward to with having Stephen Amell on the show? I want to grill him about the Laurel character. I really do. I want to say, I'm having a problem with this, Stephen. Tell me why I shouldn't feel bad about this. Anyway.
And I hope he can convince you.
I hope he can too. But I'm so looking forward to having actually a million things we want to talk to him about. And so make sure you join us next week. Well, with that out of the way, we've got another episode to talk about tonight. Episode 5. What was the name of the episode? I didn't even look to see what the name of the episode was, as a matter of fact.
I'll look it up.
I have a feeling it's named after Felicity.
Oh, that's right. It's the Secret Origins of Felicity Smoak. That was the name of it. So, episode 5, Sara, we're going to talk about the positives, we're going to talk about the negatives, and then we're going to take your questions, guys. So if you're watching us live, tweet into us right now with that hashtag you see down there, hashtag Arrow After Show, and we're going to be reading your tweets, and we'll save the last couple of minutes of the show to just take your questions. So with that out of the way, Kaori, let's start with you this week. Let's start with what you thought were some of the positives about this week's episode of Arrow.
I'm going to tell you that this was my favorite episode of the season so far.
Really?
Yes, because I really like Felicity, and it was a very Felicity-centric episode, and I love her mother. I want to see more of Donna Smoak in the house because she did a really good job and she added layers to Felicity's character, her vulnerabilities, toned up a notch, and seeing Felicity all gothed out, that was pretty cool. And she had a boyfriend that she really loved. To see her in that kind of role where she was with someone that she was passionately, sexually charged with, it's kind of awesome. I like this episode a lot. The ending.
Wow.
That.
Yeah, big ending.
I mean, that ending in itself was worth every moment of this
Well, that's
episode.
a great segue because that whole moment where it's revealed who shot and killed Sara as Roy. And if only somebody might have held up this theory that maybe this might not be a crazy idea, that if only somebody might have suggested that. Do we have a clip of a previous episode in the control room there that we can run? Let's see if we've got this. Look, remember last week I said I wouldn't completely write off the notion that Roy may still suffer from lingering effects of the Mirakuru that they're not even aware of. Now, I'm not willing to put money on that. I don't actually think that's what's happening. But it is not that far-fetched of a thing that he may be lapsing in and out of Mirakuru madness, and he killed Sara. Like, because remember, Sara, we all believed she recognized the person on the roof with her. It's like, oh, what are you doing here? So, hey, look, I'm full up. I said full up. I'm not convinced about that. I don't even think that's really what really happened. I said it's not far-fetched, and I believe this explains a lot. And that's going to go and start off my positive of this episode, finally revealing that Roy killed. Now, a lot of people are tweeting me already online saying, hey, I think this is a red herring. Well, the Komodo was the red herring. I don't think this is a red herring. This explains a lot of things. Remember, all this season, Roy's been complaining about he doesn't quite look right, he's having trouble sleeping, all this kind of stuff. Now, whether this is, so I do believe this is it. I think it's, I said on Twitter earlier, I think it's a 50-50 chance, but I think it's more than a 50-50 chance. I actually think Roy's the one who did it. So the mystery is now going to shift gears from who killed Sara to why. Like, what brought this about? Now, whether it's a matter of Roy having the lingering effects of Mirakuru, which, if I'm not mistaken, he threw the damn arrows.
Yeah, he just threw
he
them.
did.
Which might suggest he's still got Mirakuru in him somehow, some way, whatever. Or there's a third option where somebody else is drugging him with something, mind controlling him. I don't know.
He's better at throwing arrows than shooting them, huh?
Apparently, yes. He's better at throwing arrows than doing spinning somersaults off of cars, yes.
I mean, but the fact that Sara had the arrows in her stomach, I mean, now it makes sense if it is Roy because he's not a very good shot. And we saw that in this episode where he was actually shocked when he hit the guy's gun. You could see it in his face, and it's never been that apparent before that he didn't believe that he could shoot an arrow, but in this episode they made it really clear that Roy was actually surprised with himself.
And so I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about Roy, so I'll just move on to some of my other positives. An episode that really focused around Felicity. I think we've been waiting for that really for a long time, and it's so cool. And I think right from the beginning, when they did that great montage, great direction in this episode, because they do that montage of Oliver and Roy training.
Yep.
Then they show Merlin and Thea training, and then they showed
Katie
Laurel
Cassidy.
and
Laurel in the
Tiger.
boxing ring training, and then it cuts to Felicity, struggling to do us up. So funny, so great, and you know what really jumped out at me was that I know she's one of my favorite auxiliary characters in the show. Sara was always my favorite auxiliary character. Now as Sara moved, easily, Felicity is my favorite auxiliary character in this show. She's so witty and says the funniest things, and they've given her so much personality that you just feel like you know her. And that's the key in, I think, making great TV characters, is make you feel like you are hanging out with that person as you're watching them. And Felicity makes me feel that way. So that was a big positive for me. There was some action in the episode, but it focused more on character development story, which we've
Yes.
never had with Felicity. So to me, that was a real strong point. I like the interactions between Oliver and Thea. I thought those were really good. doing family stuff, although they still continue to just lie blatantly to each other. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a frustrating thing, but still, overall to me, while I will not say it's my favorite episode of the season, to me, I was smiling when the episode ended. Very satisfying episode, great ending with the whole Roy reveal. I'm really happy.
Well, you were just excited because you got to show this video about you talking.
And I was so excited. I'm going to show that clip. Okay, Anne, what about you?
Cliffhangers, they always do it to us. They do a great job of leaving us wanting to see the next episode, and this episode really proved that to all of us. I mean, you guys said it with Roy. I did not expect that at all. I think a lot of people on Twitter are saying the same thing, like, what the fuck? Sorry. But yes, so I'm really excited because I know that next week is going to be focused on, again, like John was saying, more of the reasoning. Why did Roy do that? So I'm liking that they left us with that. I do like the dynamic between Mama Smoak and Felicity. That was great. They played off each other so well.
I really liked your character.
I did too. I thought at first I was like,
I was exactly the same way. The first 30 seconds she's on, I'm like, but then all of a sudden, they give you glimpses that there's more to this is whatever, and I thought, you know what? I'm in.
They
like
sold
her.
it to me.
Yeah.
And then there was that great scene where everybody was introduced to her. Oliver first, like he walked into the room and was just like, hi, you know, like, and then Diggle with Sara, carrying Sara, and that whole interaction where she loved the baby and everything. It's just, she had such good personality, such a presence on screen, and I love that Felicity and her had so much in this episode together. And we got a glimpse into Felicity's past, like you said. I like the Easter egg, and I'm calling it an Easter egg, of Felicity looking like Death from the Sandman comics.
Right.
I know people were tweeting us pictures like, oh, could it be? Could she be Death? But I think it was more of an Easter egg, the fact that she looked like her.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys let us know if there was more to it than just that. But I do like that they had that in there. And I also like Felicity and Ray Palmer. I'm digging that relationship a lot.
So am I.
I don't know about you guys, but I love Brandon Routh.
Corey's got that disapproving look on her face.
I'll start. Let me start because I really do like Brandon Routh. I like his presence just on the show in general. And he's a good balance for Felicity because, you know, the last seasons we've always just had Felicity pining over Oliver, but now here's this other guy who's kind of trying to come in, and he's not so forthcoming with the fact that he likes Felicity. You know, obviously gave her a job and everything, but it's not quite there yet for me. I just like the fact that he has such a presence in the show and in the scenes that he's in with Felicity. So what do you think?
Well, it might go to my negatives, but I mean...
Sure, let's launch into negatives.
I like Ray Palmer a lot. I just thought in this particular episode, he was kind of annoying. Only in this one. In previous ones, he was great. I just felt like they were just trying to put him in there and develop something that was kind of unnecessary. I didn't really dig his use in this particular episode.
For me, it was like glimpses. It was glimpses into what he's going to be using Felicity for, right? They're just introducing the idea of this thing that he wants to make with her.
He keeps arriving in the most inappropriate times. You know, she's working out in the morning, and then, you know, she's hugging out with her mom. She's crying, and he's not gonna walk away. He's like, oh, I see that you're sad. Let me be sad with you. Like, what is going on with this guy?
You know, it's so funny. Everything that you're pointing out about why it didn't work for you is kind of why it worked for me.
Yeah, me too.
He is a character because I think they did several things with him in this thing. Like, there is always a danger of a character just walking into an episode just to be there and say, look, I'm here. But for him, I felt like they showed us more into his heart about what he wants for the city. Talking about, let's take the excess energy coming out of the Queen and actually donate it, give it back to the city. Energy should be something for the people, and blah, blah. He's a character that is driven by enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. We see that all the time. We're seeing more and more, he's clearly drawn to Felicity. And I think we're starting to get glimpses that Felicity might, beyond her better judgment, be a little bit drawn to him. And I really like that they're giving it to us in small doses and in a slow burn. There is, because look, when, no, I was going to say Wally West, not Wally. When Barry Allen, when Barry first showed up in Starling City, right? Mm-hmm. The connection between him and Felicity was almost instant. Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And that's what a lot of these shows are often guilty of doing. It's like instant fire and passion. We're going to go fuck tonight. You know, that sort of thing, right? But I love, they're taking a totally different approach, I feel. Look, we don't know that him and Felicity are going to end up being a couple. We don't know that at all. But I'm just saying, if they are going in that direction, I love the fact that they are really developing that relationship. They're letting us watch that relationship become something instead of saying right from the bat, okay, there's connection here, now let's watch as the romance unfolds. We're seeing them get to know each other, we're seeing them get comfortable with each other, we're seeing them liking each other, and I really like the pace they're taking with it, because Felicity has been through, like, obviously a little bit of a thing with Barry, has been through struggling with her emotions and everything with Oliver. It's cool to see her get into a platonic to start relationship with somebody and then just let it grow and develop and give her a break. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I totally see what you're saying, but it hit you one way and it hit me a different way. It's
Right.
kind of crazy that. Anyway, what are some of the other negatives for you about the episode?
I wasn't feeling the relationship between Oliver and Thea. I didn't like the scenes between the two of them. I felt that they were a little campy. Especially that part where she gives him the line about how important family is because of love. I get it that that's important for the whole episode, but what was she doing there? And then she just walks away. It was just weird, and that was probably my only two negatives.
And what about you?
It's a very, very tiny segment of the episode, so it didn't bother me as much. I mean, I think they're giving us a glimpse into, this weird, really odd dynamic, because they're all keeping secrets from each other. Oliver, Thea, and Malcolm, right?
Yep.
And Malcolm's watching this relationship. He's literally watching the relationship happen as, Thea asks Oliver to move into her loft, and they're sitting there watching TV, and it's like, what's going to happen now? So, I mean, I didn't mind it as much. I'm interested to see where that goes. But my biggest negative was the villain. I found him really awful.
He was lame.
Good point.
And that, to me, caused like the first half of the episode to be really boring for me. Ooh. And it's because, how do you make a hacker that's a villain interesting, right? I mean, like, I knew there wouldn't be that much action because he is a hacker villain, but he was just so predictable. We all knew it was going to be the ex-boyfriend,
yeah.
right? And we knew that he wasn't going to get away with whatever he was going to try to do. So the villain I could have done without, but he did obviously give us a glimpse into what Felicity was in the past, so I didn't mind it for that.
I really agree with you. I did not like the villain, and one of the other things I didn't like was that I don't enjoy the episodes of Arrow. Well, I still enjoy the episodes overall, but I mean, I don't like it when they just go villain of the week, when they do that. But at the same time, the villain of the week approach this time helped serve giving us backstory of Felicity. Mm-hmm. So at least there was a function there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you this too, though. I was far more interested in what was happening when I thought there might have been a possibility that Felicity was right and her boyfriend was dead in prison, because that makes things interesting. Something we don't know, because it really was pretty damn obvious right from the beginning. Yeah. Oh, the boyfriend that Felicity said was dead, clearly he's the guy. He's still the guy. Clearly he's the villain. So that was unfortunate, but that was it. Honestly, I thought it was nice storytelling. I did like the relationship between Ray and Felicity. I like the mother character a lot. I love the big surprise at the end with Roy. Honestly, I felt this was a nice, take a breath, tell some story, give us some texture type of episode that by the end of the episode, I was really satisfied with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, now before we throw it open to you guys, and once again, we want you guys right now, start tweeting in questions using the hashtag ArrowAfterShow. We're going to get to your questions in just 1 minute. Anne's already starting to pick some out. Mm-hmm. But let's just talk quickly for a second. Okay, if the vision he had, the cold sweat nightmare he had, if that's true and that's real, and he saw it in all the exact right detail, he heard her right final words, right? The only way Roy could know those were her final words if he was actually there. So let's assume that his vision was right, he killed Sara. Is it Mirakuru? Is it something about the League of Assassins controlling him to kill Sara? Is there another option? What's happening? Why did Roy kill Sara?
I think that it's going to have to... I think it's probably because of the Mirakuru still lingering, because we never really got down to him completely getting it washed out of the system.
Right. All they did was they came up with what they thought was a cure and tested it out once, and it's like, oh, this must have worked.
And also, I've noticed, and that this was actually going to be one of my negatives until it made complete sense, that he doesn't talk much. He hasn't talked much throughout this whole entire season. So I'm thinking, there's something up, and I thought maybe because he's still learning, he's still uncomfortable in his red suit, but no, something's up with him. So I think it's the Mirakuru.
Right. Okay, well, let's get to a bunch of the questions here, because some people are asking, like, hey, I really think that this was probably just a dream. The problem with it, the idea that it's a dream that Roy's having, is once again what I pointed out. He heard Sarah's exact words. Those were her exact final words. So if it was a dream, he wouldn't know what those last words of her saying, what are you doing here? He wouldn't have known that. So I think that plays against the whole dream thing. So I don't know. So Anne?
I with Corey, I think it's the Mirakuru. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a hybrid of the two theories. You know, maybe the League somehow has been able to control the Mirakuru that's in him. But I really do think it's a lingering effect. And maybe the League sent somebody out there and Roy just got the job done on Sara before that person could have.
What if Malcolm has something to do with this? Think about it, right? He's romantically involved with his daughter. Daddy doesn't like that.
It's possible.
Sarah's in Starling City tracking him down. Daddy doesn't like that. Figures, how can I kill two birds? Get it? Canary killed. How can I kill two birds with one stone? Manipulate Roy somehow, this kid I don't like and I want out of my daughter's life, to kill Sara, who I want dead. I don't know. I have no idea.
Wouldn't put him past it.
And if this was in fact not a dream sequence and this actually happened, it would add so much dysfunction and intrigue and interest into the series with how Oliver will deal once he finds out.
Yeah, well, he forgives Laurel for being stupid an awful lot, so maybe he'll forgive. I don't know. Anyway.
Which, by the way, can we just quickly go on Laurel, because she had a very quick, kind of stint in the episode.
That was a negative.
A little useless, but at least they admit in the show this episode, because I know last week my negative was that she keeps acting so irrationally. At least they highlight it in this episode.
Yeah.
And they actually just have her dad say, like, hey, look, you acting really dumb. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I like that they pointed it out.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to some of your Twitter questions. What are people, the Arrow fans, saying?
Okay, Tom Snow, T-Snow21 asks, why can't Oliver figure out that Merlin has been in contact with Thea this whole time?
It is a good question.
It's Merlin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
we have to put faith in the fact that he's just always one step ahead, right?
I think so at this point.
And also sometimes, the person you trust the most, like he probably trusts Thea the most because in the previous seasons she's very vulnerable. He would never expect her to be this kind of person, like lie to his face. So it just might have been through over his head.
All right, so Aaron Mogul asks, wait, didn't Roy just stop a bomb? Why would he be in his street clothes? This is probably just a dream. So again, going back to the dream sequence.
Why ask why? They like to get in their suits and not very fast.
Yeah,
so.
how many times have we seen Oliver in one outfit and then walk into the next room and he's in a different outfit? So I don't think that's... look, there are a couple of problems. If this is all right and Roy is the one who killed Sara, there are a couple of problems they're going to have to explain. Absolutely there are. But I don't feel like any of them are problems that are outside the scope of what the show has used and addressed and had to deal with before, too. So... look, I'm certainly not saying, just like in my prediction, I'm not saying that I think this is going to happen. I'm not saying absolutely it's Roy. But I tend to believe it, though. I tend to now believe it was. So, anyway.
And Stefan199613 is saying, well, maybe it's due to a drug addiction. Roy's drug addiction.
I don't recall him having a drug, aside from Mirakuru.
Newfound drug addiction?
Maybe he's thinking of Laurel?
No.
A newfound drug addiction that we haven't seen yet? I don't think so.
Really, if they just said Mirakuru, I think all of us would be like, oh,
And it
all
would
right,
make
that
sense.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? And we would let it go.
And it does raise, I can't remember which one of you two brought it up. It raises a very interesting, I think it was you, raises a very interesting question. If Mirakuru can have unforeseen, longer lasting effects, even when they thought it was out of their system, this brings, you know what
shit.
Yes, right? It
Yeah.
brings Slade back
That's what
into...
Slade and anyone else in the city before, the city burned down
right.
last season or
but
whatever.
especially Slade.
Yeah.
It brings possibilities to what could happen with Slade later.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so this is, I'm going to preface this question, but we know about Felicity's mom now, right? So we
Yes.
know who she is. The great thing is, knowing that Felicity's mom is not the brightest tool in the shed, is that Felicity's intelligence came from her father,
I love how they just
Oh,
kept
yes.
right?
talking about the dad, but
know
never
what you're
giving us
gonna
any
ask.
details about it.
So that being said, Brown 3 Eli says Felicity's father is Ivo. The mom said that her dad was smart and left them when she was 6. So
That
that's
should be a
their
question mark.
Well, I
that's
mean,
a statement apparently.
hey, look, if we find out, okay, so who was it Ivo was trying to cure, though? Remember, Ivo was going after the Mirakuru because
just
he
wanted
was-
to-
I thought it was
wasn't
his
it
wife.
Yeah, wasn't it his
Yeah,
wife?
his wife was dying.
So if we find out that at some point Felicity's mom was real sick, if at some point they reference, you know, where Felicity says, I remember this one time when I was 2, my mom was so sick. If that happens, ears are going to go up because that would give a lot of credence to that. But I don't think Ivo ever saved his wife, did he?
No.
Did they say they saved his
No,
wife?
I don't think so.
I don't think he.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that would then kind of work against the theory that Ivo. But hey, it's possible. Once again, it's a problem to the logic, but they've found workarounds for problems to logic before. So it's definitely an interesting theory. All right,
Okay.
what else we got?
So Cassie Carden actually might agree with Corey on this, that is it just me or does Ray seem a little creepy, like a stalker this episode?
Well, I just want to clarify that I love him. I love his character, and I love his little crush on Felicity. I'm just saying, in this particular episode, I wasn't digging him. He was a little in her face at the most inconvenient times. So yes, I'm with you, girl.
But see, here's the thing, like especially the scene when she's crying in the office, right? What that scene showed me is not only is he all happy-go-lucky, whatever, he has the wisdom to know she shouldn't be alone. He sees and realizes that, and I like his dialogue too when he walks in. Is basically in his own chipper way, kind of says, "You need to drink with somebody, and
Yeah.
I'm here." But it was in his own way, you know. So that's what I liked it. But apparently, you are not alone in thinking maybe he's acting a little bit creepy. So I mean, maybe he's just a creeper. Who knows? All right, what's next?
This is a question from Ann Campia.
Oh,
Oh.
And maybe I'll ask this when Steven's on the show next week too, but season 2, and you guys tell me, they made mention of Oliver having a child. Are
Yes.
we going to revisit that in season 3? What do you guys
but
think?
that is the great thing about this show, right? Like it's in season 1 that we see the high heels by, you know, on the island, and they don't even really get around to that till season 3, you know, and I love that. That is a huge dangling thread that they have that they can cash in and capitalize on. I'm sure they've got a plan for it, but that's one of the great things about the show. Some shows, they bring up something and they feel they have to address it and deal with it right now, right away. And Arrow doesn't do that. Guggenheim and his team, they have this great way of bringing up big plot lines, but they know if it's not really urgent, that it's affecting the other story right now, we can take that, put it on the shelf, and really mine it later. And I love that. So they'll get into it. I have no doubt they'll get into it at some
Do
point.
you think they'll get into it this season?
I don't.
Okay.
I have a feeling they're not, because I'm not even sensing anything suggesting that they will. I think they might get around to it season 4.
The only moment that I thought they might suggest it was when Oliver got excited when Diggle's wife gave birth to his baby.
It's true.
And that's the
yeah.
only snippet I got. But
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I forgot to mention part of my positives.
Yeah?
Sometimes, you know, we mock television shows because they just totally forget that real life happens. Like, how are these people doing this? I love that Diggle had to show up at the Arrow Cave with the baby. He's like, where's the baby? Hey, wife had to go to work, sit or cancel. It's real life. That's
Yes.
what happens.
An Argus babysitter came to pick Sara up.
Yeah, later. But I just
great.
love that he shows up at the cave with the baby. It's like, can we bring it to us? Like, who's she gonna tell?
That was great.
Yeah.
That was a
Good.
great scene. I love that. All right, what else we got?
All right, just one or two people. Jason Doan said, "Is it just me, or did the Eye of Sauron make an appearance in this episode?"
I know, but that just goes to, hey, look, sometimes the Arrow team, the Arrow creative team knocks it out of the park with their foils and their villains and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes you swing and miss, and I feel like tonight was a swing and miss. But the good thing is, I'd rather them have a swing and miss on a villain when the villain's not even really the point of the episode.
Yeah, he was
So
just a cat.
if you're going to use a throwaway villain that's really doesn't work very well, use him in an episode where he's not really all that important. And so there you go. But the Eye of Sauron, yes, you're right. I thought that too, seriously.
Dr. Christopher X asked, "What if Roy is a clone and they have a weird psychic link?"
I don't think there's a Roy clone.
Would you like there to be a Roy clone?
In real life, sure, but I don't think that's gonna. I think it's either him or the imagination of it being him, but I don't think there's a clone around.
Yeah, I'm not buying into the clone theory yet, because there are several people throwing that theory around, and I understand why. And it's certainly within the realm of possibility. It is within the realm of possibility, but I don't think that's what it is. This just my thought right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, Christopher Skalicki asks, do you think Ollie will learn about Thea's training first, or will she learn about him first, or at the same time?
Oh.
Ooh, that's a good question.
You know what? I wouldn't have even thought about the third option at the same time.
It might be like that they're in a scene where they both have to defend themselves, and all of a sudden
Where they
she's,
think
like,
they're protecting each other,
Yeah.
and they both end up kicking all sorts of ass.
I could see that happening.
I like, who asked that question?
That was Christopher Skalicki.
I think Christopher came up with a great option. I will go with Christopher's theory that they will find out at the same time.
That would be a dick move, because I imagine it would be Merlin putting them up against each other somehow. But it'd be great to see that happen.
It would be interesting. All right, well, let's take one more question.
All right. Gisberto Guzzo asks, when Felicity took the sick day, Ray was looking at his tablet and seemed intrigued. Any thoughts on what it may be about? I think it was
Porn.
what he was talking about.
It was porn.
Yeah, or
I'm pretty sure he was looking at porn. He was very intrigued by the porn. I think it's inconsequential, whatever it was he was looking at. I think he's just wrapped up in his work.
Wasn't he looking at the same numbers and stuff on his tablet the whole episode
think so,
anyway?
yes.
So he's the numbers he wanted to share with her.
Although I would like some of these, smart wearables that he kept talking about.
Well, the good part, I'm going to go back to him and say something positive. He did kind of save the two blondes this episode with
He did.
giving her that watch.
Well,
So,
and we also learned Felicity is not a real blonde.
yeah.
Yes, that was a bit of because when I saw the pictures of her in the goth stuff, I just thought, oh, she used to dye her hair black.
Yeah.
No, she dyes her hair blonde. Very fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Arrow After Show. The next time you see the Arrow After Show, we're going to have a fourth chair. And
Or one chair, and all of us in the same chair.
And we are going to have Arrow himself, Stephen Amell, will be in studio with us. Please make sure, spread the word about that. Make sure you join us for that episode as well. We're going to have a big chunk of time just take your questions for Stephen as well. I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of questions for Stephen. We're going to ask Stephen what his positives and negatives are about that episode. I'm sure he'll be totally objective. So that'll be really cool to see. I want to thank, obviously, my lovely co-host today. First of all, Anne, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Ann Campia, as well as Corey and I at Team Amazing.
And of course, over here, Corey. Corey, where can people find you?
You can find me also at Team Amazing and at KAORIOUS, Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks, my Facebook, Twitter, and stuff like that, at John Campia. Please head on over there, actually. Find the link to my fundraising page for No Shave November, raising money for the American Cancer Society. Even if you're just giving $1, $1 goes a long way. So thanks a lot so much, guys, not only for watching the after show, but for watching Arrow. Arrow is a show that deserves huge ratings, so make sure you become an Arrow evangelist and get out there and make sure everybody knows about it. So we will be back here again next week with Stephen Amell. See you next time. My name's John Campia for Ann, Corey. Talk to you later.